our food as well as our nutrition. We also will be talking to our fitness trainer a little bit later, who comes through to give us the upside of using these drugs as far as weight loss is concerned, who is a corporate wellness professional. He's also a certified health and wellness coach and our favorite personal trainer. Chanel, good morning. It's so lovely to have you having a discussion around, you know, the new fad on the market, right? Weight loss by injection, from your Ozempic, your Mjare, your Victoza. And these are just some of the common names of this GLP-1 that's on the market. We want to hear a little bit more about this from where you are sitting as a nutritionist. Help us break these down. What exactly are these GLP-1 agonists, I think they're called? Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Saije. And it's great to be here and talk about a very, very popular, I think, very relevant topic as well. And I know you mentioned, you know, the sort of biggest celebrities, the Oprah Winfrey, etc., who are on it. But even locally, there are definitely some young celebrities that are, you can tell, have had very rapid weight loss this time. And a lot of people are saying, oh, you guys are, you know, are taking these drugs.
Right.
Well, these drugs were not created initially. GLP-1 were not created initially to be weight loss drugs. Their primary use is to lower blood sugar levels. And like you mentioned, your body doesn't actually naturally produce its own GLP-1, its own glucagon-like kick. Chemical messengers that send signals to tell your body's cells or tissues to behave in a particular way.
Right.
So for us, who are not struggling overly with their appetite or cravings or with weight management, our GLP-1, we're producing enough to regulate our appetite well enough for us to manage our weight, right? For a lot of people who are really struggling, they really struggle with their appetite, or they are struggling with obesity, or being very overweight, essentially, these drugs can be very, very beneficial. A lot of people actually think that as someone in the nutrition space, i.e. a dietitian or a nutritionist or a nutrition coach, would automatically be against the use of these drugs. But for some people, it is beneficial, especially if they've been struggling with their weight for a very long time, or if they've also got other comorbidities. So it's not just their weight, but they're also diabetic, right? Or they've got high blood pressure, or they've got cholesterol-related issues, or there's fertility-based hormone challenges, so PCOS, things like that, as well in the background.
Right.
And yes, they can be very, very useful. They work specifically by, like I said, lowering blood sugar levels, which makes you not feel as hungry, essentially. So you tend to eat a lot less food, number one, in your meals, but you also eat less frequently. So some people will say, you know, I snack throughout the day, and I really struggle with eating, you know, not eating between meals, or having 4 or 5 meals a day. When you start taking it overnight, I only feel hungry enough to eat 2 meals. And even the size of those meals has reduced significantly, which essentially is where the weight loss therefore comes in, because you are in a calorie deficit, i.e. eating less food than your body needs.
Got you. It's Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat. Have you seen someone who has rapidly lost weight, particularly with this fad that's coming in that most celebrities are actually getting on? And have you wondered how exactly do they do this? Maybe it might be Ozempic, maybe it's Manjare, maybe it's Victoza. We want to hear from you if you have seen this. Would you also inject yourself for a weight loss? We're discussing this morning a group of medication that is essentially used for diabetes, but now it's being used for weight loss, rapid weight loss. And Chanel, our nutritionist, was just explaining to us how exactly this hormone works. Sugar. It's supposed to help regulate your insulin as well as your appetite. So it's suppressing your desire to eat. And now we're seeing that this hormone is now being used to slow down how fast your stomach empties so that you're feeling fuller for longer. Chanel, why do you think we are seeing this trend taking up now suddenly for weight loss?
Ozempic is actually not a new drug. People think it is new meaning like it's been popularized, I think, really in the last 2 years. But it's been around for almost a decade. The thing is that we only had a lot of research on its weight loss benefits recently, which is why it's become popularized, right? When we say Ozempic specifically, like you mentioned, it is the brand. The actual class or group of GLP-1 is called semaglutide. So there's about 5 different classes, and each class works slightly differently. Some people respond very badly to one class and terrible side effects. Others can respond quite well, right? Which is why there's different categories. Just like you've got different types of antibiotics to fight the same disease, right? You've got slightly different groups essentially that help with certain things more than others. So your semaglutide, your dulaglutide, your liraglutide, and also your excitinide.
Yeah.
It's all of them in Zimbabwe, and I must also really strongly recommend that people should not take any of these GLP-1s without getting seen to by their healthcare professional, so their physician or their doctor.
Yeah.
And go off and order it from.
Got you.
Yeah, there definitely is that happening a lot.
I'm
Go to your doctor.
I'm actually wondering, Chanel, who should or shouldn't be actually on them, because if they're medication for diabetes, and if you don't have diabetes and now you are using diabetic meds to lose weight, it kind of sounds scary though. So we'll talk about the side effects in a moment, but who should or shouldn't be on these meds?
So definitely people who, like you said, are diabetic, or what we say have got metabolic syndrome. The metabolic syndrome covers a whole group of different conditions. Number one is insulin resistance, so you are struggling to lose weight, even though you may not be fully blown diabetic yet.
Right.
People who have got cholesterol issues as well, or something like fatty liver disease. People who have got BP or hypertension, also the candidates for it. And usually your cardiologist or your physician or your GP will say, if you've got any of these conditions and you've been taking of them for years, they will usually put you on that first.
Right.
To try and help control that before they go on to the traditional sort of insulin injectable.
Right.
You do have to inject yourself every either week, some people every 2 weeks, depending again on which type you get. So for someone who's good with needles, you can have a very difficult time, unfortunately. Some doctors do allow you to come in and they'll actually inject you personally. It also, of course, depends on the dosage, which is why I said you should not just go and self-diagnose and start taking these drugs, because you have no idea how much you should be taking for your specific individual needs.
Right. So if I don't have BP, if I don't have any problems with my metabolism, for example, can I then still take these drugs for weight loss?
Technically, yes. So clients that have these issues tend to be overweight anyways, for that case. If it's someone who is just overweight and hasn't got any of the conditions that I mentioned, the doctor is not going to prescribe it to you.
Right.
Not the doctor in Zimbabwe. They won't prescribe it to you because they need to just sort of 5 to 10 kilos of weight, which you can lose without taking a $400 medication every single month, right? It's actually cheaper to go to the gym than take the medication.
Yeah.
But it is more convenient to take the medication, which is why people are opting for that versus, training or adjusting their diet.
Got you.
I will say, though, that as you mentioned, there are definite side effects. So people who have been on the drugs, some of my clients who have been diagnosed, who have been prescribed by their doctor, have reported muscle mass loss if they have not been training or they haven't adapted their diet. There's also often issues with vitamin and mineral deficiencies if you've been on it for a long time. So usually it's prescribed every 2 to 3 months, and then the doctors adjust according to how your body's responding. Some people also say that they get terrible headaches, others terrible nausea. Some people, their bone health is also affected. So it's not this miracle drug that everyone thinks it is. It can be incredibly effective as long as you are supporting the drug with other lifestyle and dietary changes.
Capital 100.4 FM Harare happy every single Wednesday mid-morning. You're locked into the crunch with the Nubian Queen, the International African. Between 10 and 11, we spend time looking into our health as we tap into health and wellness professionals across our country, across the world, and giving us the latest in terms of, what you need to know about your food, your sleep, your lifestyle changes. We're talking this morning about a magic shot as it's being known right now, mainly visible in terms of usage by celebrities, where you see sudden or rapid weight loss in someone you knew and you're like, what is it that they're doing? Well, did you know, especially if you're somebody battling with things like diabetes, and you probably might be aware of this, that your body naturally produces a hormone that helps you regulate your insulin, your appetite, your blood sugar. And now there is actually medicine that's being given to somebody who's battling with diabetes because your body's no longer regulating these things. And that medication is known as glucagon-like peptide 1, GLP-1, and it's normally given to somebody who is battling type 2 diabetes. Now, this drug in itself also helps improve your insulin production. It's going to slow down how quickly your stomach empties so that you feel fuller for longer, and it helps you suppress your appetite and your cravings. Now, this GLP-1 is mimicking what your typical glucagon-like peptide 1, what your typical diabetes medication would have been doing, and now on the market, it's now being used for weight loss management. So you're looking at your Ozempic, your Mjare, your Victoza. 0719-100-404. Would you consider using any of these to lose weight quite rapidly? And Chanel was just explaining to us that right now on the market, they are steadily being prescribed, particularly if you're somebody who's already battling with weight issues, if you're overweight and maybe you have some sort of metabolic syndrome, maybe your BP is giving you problems. A doctor might prescribe any of these to help you manage these things. And Chanel was just helping us see that there will certainly be side effects like most medication. So maybe one of the side effects that you may see yourself experiencing if you do take any one of these GLP-1 medications. Chanel, do you think we are bypassing the kitchen, for example, in terms of managing weight loss, looking at our food and nutrition for a quick fix? Do you think this might affect our relationship with our food, for example? Those are my first two questions before I ask more questions.
Okay. So I don't think so. I think it kind of will help people maybe shine a spotlight on their food, to be honest with you. And it'll make it easier for them to make better choices. The reason why I say this is based on observations that my clients have made, as well as friends who have been on one of these types of GLP-1, is number one, they do, outside of the change in appetite, obviously, they do see a change as well in their cravings. Some people, it was for big, fatty, salty foods, and think of like your hot chips, your potato crisps, those sorts of things, your pies, etc. And also, people notice a big change as well in their alcohol tolerance. And for a lot of people, they actually drink a lot of their calories. And say, oh, Chanel, I don't even eat that much food. So when we look at what they're drinking, whether it's the Coke, your fizzy drinks, your fruit juices, all that sort of thing, there's actually a change in their palate, right? So that their taste buds almost change. And those super sweetened beverages, as well as alcohol, is no longer as appetizing to them. And they also have a very strong negative responses to drinking as well. So someone who's used to drinking, let's say, a bottle of wine every Friday and Saturday, they are barely managing 2 glasses. After that, they actually start to feel ill.
Yeah.
So those changes also help clients a lot to modify the actual diet. It supports the changes that we would like them to make anyways.
Yeah.
Because we don't want clients to be, having an excess of alcohol, excess of sweetened beverages in their diet anyway.
We're going to be talking in a minute to our fitness trainer to find out how this medication might actually have an impact on how you're working out, maybe your motivation, and even your metabolism in a second. Chanel, I know you've got to go, so we just want to ask you some quick questions as well, also as far as sleep is concerned, because we also understand there is a relationship between your sleep and your hormonal shifts. And you're explaining to us that, you know, GLP-1 is also a hormonal that's being added to our body. Talk to us, if you can, about the connection between possible maybe insomnia or disrupted sleep as a result of this hormonal shift that's happening.
Yeah. So usually people who are insulin resistant, so before they become diabetic, or people who are pre-diabetic, let me say, they tend to have disrupted sleep, right? Either disrupted sleep was adding to the blood sugar issues, or the blood sugar issues are causing disruptions in sleep, right? But the two, sleep and metabolism, well, appetite regulation, are very closely because we're still unpacking and doing more research. But something that we're noticing a link more and more. People that eat very late in the evenings as well tend to have issues with regulating their appetite. People that are having their snacks later on in the evening also tend to have issues with regulating their appetite, and also making better food choices, let me say, as well. We'll be more tired, or what we say chronically sleep deprived, meaning you've been having poor sleep or not enough sleep for more than 2 weeks at a time, or 2 weeks or longer. There tends to be issues with poor food choices. So suddenly this could look very exciting. Like, even though before you didn't care about this, but suddenly when you're in a shopping queue, you're looking around and seeing all the chocolates and the cream cakes and things on the side. Whereas before, when you are refreshed and sleeping enough, essentially, those sorts of things don't bother you.
Yeah, and also, I'm just thinking, when you're looking at depriving yourself of sleep, it means that your body is more likely to start craving sugar and fat. Is that correct? Okay, so how do we then connect this to us taking these meds?
A better blood sugar regulation, you're definitely going to, generally there's an improvement in people's sleep quality. So even if the length of sleep doesn't increase much, so you're still struggling to get enough sleep because of your job, your commitments, whatever it is, you'll still feel a bit better because your sleep quality is actually improved.
Got you. And Chanel, before we let you go, in terms of so once if you stop taking these injections, are you then going to pick up the weight, or is the weight loss permanent?
No, it's not permanent.
It's not permanent.
No. Every single client, friend that I know of who has used these drugs will tell you that your appetite starts to come back. And even when you're on the injectables, they say that in the last sort of 12 to 24 hours before you take your next injection, you can actually feel your appetite and craving starting to come back.
Wow.
It's important if you are still eating poorly. So let's say you were eating lots of pizza, chicken, lots of fried chicken, all the, I would say, quote unquote, poor quality or ultra processed foods before, and you still continue eating that, just in smaller quantities of the GLP-1. When you come off of the drug, because eventually you're going to come off of it, right? Whether it's for financial reasons, medical aid reasons, whatever it is, or you reach your goal weight, your appetite, because if you have not corrected your dietary issues, will come right back to what it originally was, and you will put on some of the weight. But 10 kgs, you will put on between 1 to 3 kgs, usually around 30.
It doesn't sound as if this outweighs, you know, this potential weight. It doesn't sound like it outweighs the risk of taking this drug in the first place. If you had a client, Chanel, who wants to start using any of these drugs, what would you say?
I first of all need to look at what their comorbidities are. So are there one that's also struggling with a couple of other things? How long have they been struggling with their weight for? And then from there, like, what are their doctor's recommendations? No nutritionist or dietitian is licensed or allowed to recommend these drugs. We would have to work in collaboration with their doctor to make sure that they get the best possible care. So if there's someone who's just coming in for weight loss and they haven't already got other health conditions, then I'd say, if you haven't tried your diet and tried to make a really, like, substantial change in your diet, let's try that first for at least 2 months.
Got you.
And then if that's not working fast enough or well enough for you, then we can supplement it. So still work on the diet, but add in the GLP-1. Obviously, your doctor obviously has to be willing to prescribe it. Get it in any pharmacy.
Got you. Chanel, how do we get a hold of you? I'd imagine there are lots of questions that are coming in as far as using these injections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very popular at the moment. A lot of people are using it, and a lot of people are using it without. Like I said, they're self-diagnosing.
Yes.
And they're getting it from wherever.
Right.
It's not. Things take up poorly.
Got you. How do we get a hold of you?
So you can get hold of us on, we've got a very active Facebook and Instagram page, which is Creative Nutrition ZW. Also on 0778-251-062. If you go to our Creative Nutrition Instagram or Facebook page, you can also find all of our other details on our website and our calling.
Chanel John from Creative Nutrition, our nutritionist who comes on our show every single Wednesday. Chanel, thank you so much. Have a great day. And now we want to speak to our fitness trainer and hear what he has to say as far as people using these injectables as part of weight loss. But also, you may realize as many people may be losing weight, but also muscle mass when they are on these meds. We want to find out, can this be dangerous? Is it something that is supported by strength training? And as you're listening in, we were talking about sleep just now. And do you notice how however you're sleeping, either too long or too little, is it affecting your cravings or your energy? And just from what you've heard so far about using GLP-1 to lose weight and even to balance your hormones, would you consider using this injection to slim down? 0719 100 404.
We don't negotiate.
No.
We take no prisoners. We are here to rule. Capital 100.4 FM at 8. Harari's Heartbeat. #dominate.
You were still tuned into Capital 100.4 FM, Harari's Heartbeat. We're looking into a new trend where we've seen people we recognize rapidly losing weight, and we are trying to understand how exactly it is. And we've just learned today that it's actually a hormone that's mimicking how diabetic meds for type 2 would be used to suppress your cravings and thus have you experiencing weight loss. And we're just looking into that. What are the risks that are involved with you taking this injectable? And then what you've heard from Chanel, would you consider using Ozempic, Victoza, or even Manjare in trying to lose weight? Manjare is actually a much newer way, and it's showing even greater weight loss potential than using Ozempic, which is also being widely used for weight loss. Now, Taku, thank you so much for joining us. Taku is our fitness trainer. And Taku, you've been listening into what Chanel was talking about. And you as a wellness trainer, for most people, we have gym. It's because they want to lose weight. And in most cases, I think the weight that is being referred to is the visceral fat. But when you're looking at these medications, how do you think these meds can actually impact someone's stamina if they're trying to work out? Because we're also seeing how it's messing around with your hormones, your sugar levels. So in terms of your workout stamina and your metabolism, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. As Chanel was saying, these drugs, they have their side effects, but also they can help if someone needs to lose weight, possibly within a specific period of time due to other metabolic issues. However, long term, it also has some side effects. maybe the background also is to understand that, there was this researcher in the United States who discovered this lizard. It's called I have it here. It's called Gila monster, which is he discovered that it was eating maybe once or twice per month, even 3 times per year. Then he discovered that, okay, the appetite is suppressed. Now we need to understand now, if something is suppressing our appetite, what is the effect of that? Because we don't just eat for to just be fit and all that stuff. We eat to nourish the body, isn't it? So these mechanisms, this physiology then was developed to have these drugs which we have today. So you realize that a lot of people will then start to eat less because their appetite hormone is suppressed by these drugs. However, if you check from all studies, if you check people who are losing weight that way, if they lose 20 kgs, 15 kgs of that is muscle, then 5 kgs of that is fat. What do we need to lose? Again, we come back to body composition. What we need to lose in most cases, of course, we need to lose weight, but in most cases, what we need to lose is body fat. We know that body fat is dangerous, like the visceral fat you mentioned. So when you are losing muscle mass, it also means that you are losing your organ of longevity. We always say this here. Our organ of longevity is muscle. You are also losing the organ that helps you to regulate blood sugar. And remember,
I want us to get to that, but for now I want to understand, does it have an impact on your workout stamina? Or once somebody feels as if I've lost weight, they have no desire to actually be hitting the gym. I want us to get what you're saying. It's very important. But for now, the question is, what is the impact we're seeing? Because you're messing with your hormones, you're messing with your sugar levels. So your motivation, your stamina, is that also not being impacted on?
Okay. So not eating a lot is good because you create that calorie deficit, which leads to weight loss. However, to fat loss. However, we don't just eat for muscle building, like that line of thought I was trying to follow. We also eat to have energy. For example, glucose, carbohydrates, particular for that. So for individuals who are training, who comes to our place for training or who are going to the gym, you realize that carbohydrates are a very big part of their nutrition because they are important. They don't just make us fat, or we label them, they're bad, sugar and all that stuff. No, we also need carbohydrates. So when we are not getting enough carbohydrates, it means that we don't have the glucose to then give us the strength to recover. One, we need actual carbohydrates to recover. Two, we don't have the strength or the glucose to have the energy to do the workouts properly and avoid injuries.
Got you. So you were talking on something that's very important, right? And that is the idea of possible muscle mass being lost on these meds, because it's being said you're not just losing weight, you're also losing important muscle mass, which I think can be dangerous, and I think that's what you're starting to explain, right?
So you don't want to lose muscle, especially if you're above the age of 50, because literally the organ that will help you to be physically independent, that is what you are losing when you take these drugs. So for some other people, what they try to do, like Chanel, as she mentioned, you need someone to help you. You are taking your drugs, but you need someone to help you, to work with you. Because so that you keep your protein intake very high, and also you keep your resistance training, still challenging your muscle tissues, so that they can still maintain muscle size.
And interestingly, as you're saying this, I've also seen some celebrities who say, okay, they are certainly using these injectables, but like you're saying, it doesn't do away with the extra flab that's there, right? They're smaller, they're petite, but they are still not in shape. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? They still have the extra layers of fat in places because of the rapid weight loss.
Yes. this comes back to the reason why we say muscle is the organ of longevity. So, like you see my arm here. As I lose the muscle, my skin is going to remain alone. Then it means chakabata chiri pakati peskin yangu nebonzo that's what I'm losing, the muscle.
Right.
So kuunyana literally is the loss of muscle. Kungawe maringos my face, or even if you work with one echikuru. Kuunyana kwavari kuita kwaiko, it's literally the loss of muscle.
Right.
Yes. So now if you just take these drugs and the weight loss is rapid and you're also not building muscle at the same time, you're also not taking in your amino acids to maintain muscle size, pachasara pasina anything. So skinny jaws and some fat.
Right.
Because remember we said in most cases what people are losing is muscle, not
the
fat.
Right.
Not the fat. So fat ichasara iripo, waluza muscle, ne skin, then you wonder why I'm not looking well. Like this lady, my client, she shared a photo with me. There's this program weight loss 10 bags. Then I said, okay, can you share with us the the before and after, my testimony as well. So the picture covering their chest. Then after I one of my results, they still want cover now the whole body, and this part here, she flat the arm,
under the
tricep, under the arm. It didn't change. It didn't change. Then I said, can you ask here to take the before after? I can go cover the chest so that we see what happened by area and so forth.
There was no change.
There was change, but it's not. Because body recomposition is what it means to be in shape. So being in shape, it means you have the muscle, but you lose the fat.
Got you. So you can be slimmer,
yes,
but you're still holding the pockets of fat.
Yes, because what you have lost actually is the muscle,
not the fat.
So
got
you lose that muscle and the fat remains. You trust me. So body recomposition, we are saying like for women, then your hips should be wide, your glutes, everything's there.
Got you.
Then your waist is small. Yeah.
So do you think it's safe for us to be working out whilst we are also on these injections?
Yes. That's what it's recommended. Chanel mentioned that aspect as well, that these lifestyle interventions should be established. You take your drug, but you make sure you still work out. You still eat your protein more than you were doing before, because now these drugs, because they are suppressing appetite, you don't have that desire to eat. So whenever you happen to eat, you just have to make sure you eat a lot of protein. You still have to sleep so that you don't disrupt your hormones. You still have to stay active again throughout the day, so that your glucose intake is still high. We know that sedentary lifestyle is one of the leading factors to it would be high blood sugar.
Yeah.
Because sugar haringoramba iri system and we are not using.
We want to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about being slimmer, but it's also because if you're losing muscle, that means you don't have strength. That means you don't have endurance.
Yeah.
That means your motivation is also low. That means you're not going to age well, even if you're a size 2 instead of a size 30. And so you're saying it's great to think about losing if you can, the visceral fat.
Yeah.
But with these drugs, because they're not differentiating to say, oh, this is a fat cell, this is a muscle. They are just working on everything for you to lose weight. And you're saying, if you're going to use these injections, don't forget your physical activity, your endurance training, your muscle building, because as you age, like you always tell us, it will catch up with you.
It will catch up with you. And okay, so with these drugs, or some of these weight loss drugs or programs, a lot of people, they lose from a bigger apple to a smaller apple.
But they're still an apple.
Yes, you don't want that. You want to lose from a bigger apple to an hourglass shape. You get it. That's because ukaita hourglass shape anditi chine kumusoro kwakakura nekuzasi kwakakura, then pakati pari very small. That's the waist circumference.
Right. And for most people, this is where we're building up a lot of the visceral fat.
Yes. So that's why I always say throw away the scale, because it doesn't say anything. Vudzrako, my nails is all part of the weight. your net, whatever you weigh. But now, if you are losing the waist, and the waist and with the waist circumference, you realize that you're actually losing the visceral fat, that fat which is deep inside. We are just seeing it outside here, but it's that fat that is around your vital organs and all that stuff. So that's actually a sign of it indicates health and metabolic health more than the scale.
And interestingly, just from what you are saying and what Chanel is saying, it looks like exercise in itself works well with your hormones, right? Because they will naturally boost what these GLP-1s are trying to do, right? Your sugar levels, your regulation of your insulin and your regulation of your insulin and your sugar. If you exercise, your body then does that naturally. You don't actually need the jab.
Yes, the fact is, most of what we are eating, about 78% of it is taken by the muscle. So you realize that with functional medicine, like even in other countries, they realize that you high blood sugar, you are treated as under muscled, as someone without enough muscle, because if you had enough muscle, you would need a lot of insulin to regulate your sugar.
Okay. Taku, how do we get a hold of you?
0777 176
So listening into this discussion, are you more likely to want to try using these magic shots? Would you say using an injection to slim down is better, or do you believe in doing it the natural way? If your child or your partner wanted to take these meds just to lose weight, what would you say? It's 11 o'clock. It's time for the news.